Everyone is still talking about the Chris Rock, the Will Rock, the Will Smith Chris Rock episode at the Academy Awards. I didn't watch it. I'm pretty much culturally ignorant. I don't know much about any of those people. I mean, I know who they are, obviously, but I don't know a lot. But you know what? This is Steve Ridgel, and they don't know me either. But here's a few observations I thought I'd share about that whole Will Rock episode. One is it's different when you're famous. I'm not, but every once in a while I get recognized, or people that don't really know me have read something I've written, and I travel around and preach a lot. And so there's a lot of pressure when you're well known. I can't imagine the pressure that they must have. So I get that sometimes when everybody's watching, I mean, most of us make our mistakes or have our incidents when nobody's watching, or very few people. Boy, not them. Number two, I think it's well worth remembering. It's awful easy to say something that doesn't come across quite the way you intended. You thought it was going to be funny and it wasn't. Or you laughed at something that you shouldn't have. It's really easy to misspeak and say things that you probably shouldn't have. Number three, I think there's a natural impulse for a husband to protect and defend his people. Not saying it was appropriate or not, but I do get that. And I know in our culture, by the way, it's becoming increasingly unpopular to say that a man ought to take care of his family, stand up for his family, defend his family. So I get that impulse he had to protect, defend his wife. I'm a Christian, so I'm taught to turn the other cheek. That's a hard thing to do. It's never easy to turn the other cheek. The instant reaction is to strike back, to strike, to Will Smith struck Chris. Chris didn't hit him back. There's a lot to make out of that, but I think as Christians, we ought to really realize there are situations that come up when it's hard to turn the other cheek. We may not be being televised nationally. Everybody may not dissect everything we said and did. It may or may not be justified, but all of us sometimes snap back when maybe that's not the way to do that. And I would say this as a Christian, when I make a mistake, when I do something that in retrospect I wish I hadn't, when I react in the heat of the moment, I'm taught to apologize. Now, I understand that's exactly what Will Smith's doing. And if it is, I admire him for that because, some people just don't want to forget. Some people want to drag up your worst moments. And I would hope Will Smith's not defined by this for the rest of his life. Maybe he will be. I don't really know his character because I don't know him. I just know about him. But I do know that one of the things you do when you make a mistake, when you do something you shouldn't have, is say, I was wrong. I shouldn't have done that. So, just a few things for all of us to remember. It's hard when everybody watches every move. It's instinctive in order to defend your family, especially if you're a man. Sometimes we say things about people we shouldn't say. Sometimes we react more quickly than we should. I think Christians ought to turn the other cheek. And when you make a mistake, say, I'm sorry, learn from it, and move on. The other thing I would say, the thing I in some ways hate the most, I hate the standing ovation. Hey, he stood up for his woman, how great is that? I don't know. I appreciate the sentiment to stand up for your family, but it was almost like they were celebrating the violence too, and I have some issues with that. Yeah, it's hard to know what to, especially when everybody's looking at you. Aren't you going to support and salute and cheer for? And boy, and a lot of people condemned one or the other, and I don't know. I just think sometimes we really ought to take a step back and try to put ourselves in the other person's shoes and think about that a little bit. So this is Steve Ridgel saying I don't have a clue about their hearts, but I do know there's a lot in there for us to think about and unpack in our lives.